for today's card, I started off with this Bells and Whistles Bell with Laundry image that I stamped onto Cobalt Quality white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then used one of my Spellbinders oval dies to cut out the image. And then as always, starting with the skin, this time I used E01, and then I went in with E11, and now I'm going in with E13. I've been experimenting lately with skin tones and just trying different color combinations. So this one is more of a peachy, pinky kind of skin tone. So once I've got the E13 down, I blended that out with the E11, and then I went back in with my E01 to blend everything together, being really careful on her face here because, as you can see, the eyes aren't completely lined with the stamp image, so I didn't want the marker to seep in and to color those whites. So I'd done R20 like I usually do for the cheeks and lips, but it was too pale for this skin tone, so I went in with R85 really lightly on the cheeks there, and then dabbed that out a little bit with the E01 again because it's kind of a dark pink color. And then I go on to her hair, so I'm just using E33 first and putting that in where I want it, not being super defined with it since her hair is in braids and kind of textured and whatnot, so it's really hard to do a lot of like precise blending with it. So I did that and then went in with my E35, slightly darker. Same thing, just putting the color where I want it, lightly dabbing it over the braids, not being too particular with it. And then E37 for my darkest. And that just kind of really brings out the hair color. So once I've got that dabbed in, I go back in with my E35, same thing, just pulling the color out a little bit more, dabbing it onto the braid, giving it more of that little bit of definition. And then I finally go in with my E33 to kind of blend it all together. Again, just using a really light touch. It's kind of a small area and really detailed. So, and then finally went back with my E37, just add the teeniest bit more definition, and that's all there was to it for the hair. So then I'm going on to her laundry basket, so just E31 and then E33, and then I'll blend that back together with the E31 again. And I'm not worrying about it going out of the lines a little bit because I'll just take care of that when I go in to add some shading and whatnot. So I've got that, and then her shirt is just RV11 and then RV32. These two are really close together, so there isn't any effort needed to blend them. They just kind of blend themselves, especially on small areas like this. So then I wanted to pull that color into more of the image, so I just grabbed the same colors and used them on little parts of the laundry there and her little bows in her hair. And then I went in to color the teddy bear. It's just E35 and E37. Just laid down a little bit of color, added some E37, and then go back in with the E35 to blend them together. So, having a hard time. I need to change the nib on my E35. I've had this since I first started getting Copics like 5 years ago, and I'm starting to notice it's starting to wear down a little bit. So anyway, onto her pants. I decided to color them like jeans because they kind of look like denim to me. So I just did B21 and then added a little bit of B23 and then blended that again with B21. So super simple, not a whole lot of effort involved. I can't talk today, jeepers. Anyway, then for some of the other little piles of laundry here, I just used YG61 and then I just dabbed the YG67 marker on for the spots on it, and then just used RV42 for one of it. No blending, just stuck some color down. I wasn't planning on putting in a whole ton of effort. Images like this that are so detailed and have so many elements, like you can spend forever coloring them, but for me, when I'm making a card, I don't feel the need to like use tons and tons of colors, tons and tons of blending, shading, all that, because you'd be doing it forever. So I left a lot of the parts of laundry and I actually decided I paper pieced them. So I'm just using Bow Bunny Little Miss pattern papers, and that's where I got my color inspiration for the whole image from. So I did this all before I started filming because it would just take forever to show like cutting out all these little pieces. It actually didn't take long to cut them out. Just a steady hand and kind of paying attention and whatnot when you're cutting out such small images. But I just chose a few different patterns at random and a few different parts of the laundry for that, and then I'm just using my Tombow Mono Multi to adhere everything into place. And then after I'd done that, I decided I wanted to actually paper piece her little handkerchief on her head and her apron too, just to kind of tie everything in together. And so as I was doing that, that's where I noticed there was parts of the image that I had forgot to color, but I'll get to those in a minute. So yeah, the apron I think took me the longest cut, but even that, it didn't take that long. It's not a, I don't know, I just didn't find it that difficult to do. It's just, like I said, steady hand, good sharp scissors. So got the apron done, and then the back of the apron, of course. And that's why I didn't worry too much about going outside any of the lines, because it just gets covered up with pattern paper. So once I've got that in place, then I went in to color the parts that I missed. So that little bit of her hair, I just used E35, and then I just used R85 for her little bracelet. And then while I was at it, I went back in with the R85, just to add a little bit more definition to her shirt and the other areas that I had colored pink. Just made them stand out a little bit more, and I think it just looks a lot better that way. So once I did that, I went in with YG63 on her apron and her little cap, and then YG67, just dabbed that in and then colored in the whole pocket, just to give it a little bit more definition. So done that, and then as always, you got to add a bit of shading to paper pieced areas. So I'm going in with W3 first, because otherwise everything's just floating there and there's no definition, just like if you just colored everything with Copics flat and didn't add any other colors, it would just, everything would just look so flat. So I used W3, added a bunch of definition to the paper piecing, as well as just to a lot of like the whole laundry pile there. That was just the easiest way to add some shading and definition to it, is just to go over it with the W3. So super simple. And then I went in with the W5, especially for that darker brown pattern paper there, because the W3 you can barely see it all. So I took W5 and went in there and added some more shading. And then finally, all around the image, I went in with just W1 and then blended that out with W00. And then finally, you can't really tell as much on camera, but in real life, you can kind of still see some of the lines. So I just went in with my 0, like my colorless blender, and blended that out. So that was it for the image, and then I'm matting that onto a scalloped oval that I cut with my Spellbinders die onto some rose cardstock. I have a hard time with the ovals, like just lining them up evenly, so it takes a little bit of fiddling. Even though I'm good at eyeballing things, I have a hard time with the ovals for some reason. So did that, and then like I said, the pattern paper's from the Bo Bunny Little Miss collection pack, and I kind of had a layout somewhat in mind before I started, and then I die cut some leaves with my CC Designs leaves die, because I was going to add some Prima flowers for the embellishment. And then ribbon, I wasn't sure. I had some twill ribbon set aside that I was going to use, and then last minute I changed my mind and grabbed some black satin ribbon, because I thought that would give it a little bit more definition on the card, but I did not like how that looked. It was just too harsh, too black. Brown would have looked really nice, but instead I went back to what I'd originally wanted to use and grabbed, this is just some AmyRs green twill, and just tied that. This time I just tied it in a knot, which I don't do very often, but with ribbon like this that's like really, really thick and stiff, just tying it in a knot like this is a lot less bulky than a bow, because a bow would be huge on a small card like this. So got that tied, trimmed off the edges, fiddled again with kind of how I wanted the layout to be. And then the sentiment is from my Many Thanks set. And I knew I wanted to use it on the front of the card, but I wasn't exactly sure where. So I used my Favorite Things sentiment strips dies that I just got in a recent haul. And yeah, like I had no idea where I was going to put it. I filmed this also really late at night, FYI, so my brain was just fuzzy. So wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do, but I thought I'd get all the main elements kind of adhered down first. So I adhered down the main image, and then for the leaves I just used the Tombow Mono Multi again and just applied the adhesive to where the leaves would stick to cardstock. Didn't bother adhering them over the ribbon, because once I put the flowers in place, they'll hold everything in place. So I got those down, and then for the little Prima flowers, they were just from my stash, like Prima hydrangea petals. So I just used my brad piercer to pierce holes right through the card front, and then just little mini black brads to stick them into place. And like I said, so those will just hold all the parts of the leaves that I didn't adhere down very well. The flowers will hold those in place. And then for the sentiment, I just used a tiny little bit of adhesive, just a really small amount, because I don't want it glued to my craft mat, but I want it held in place so that I can use my stamp positioner to stamp that onto the strip. So just like so, I'm just using my VersaFine Onyx Black, personal favorite for sentiments, so it's really crisp and black. So then inked it up again, and then stamped it onto the sentiment strip. So just like so, fit perfectly. And then again, wasn't 100% sure where on the card front I was going to stick it, and finally decided to stick it right along the bottom, kind of peeking out from behind the flowers. And then, as always, Scotch tape along the back of the ribbon there so that the ATG can just glide over it. Otherwise it sticks on ribbon and it just makes it more difficult to adhere everything. So got that, and then I matted that with the same rose cardstock I used for the scalloped oval. So things match a little bit, and then I'm going to adhere that onto the card front. So more ATG adhesive, and then I just adhere that onto the card front, which is standard 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch. I get asked that a lot still, unless I tell you guys otherwise. It's always 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. So that's done, and then the inside I just used some leftover pattern paper that I'd used on the front. Similar layout, but just kept it a little bit simpler. And then I die cut another white oval and scalloped oval just for a place to write something to the recipient. So got that adhered, and then I chose another sentiment from my Many Thanks set and inked it up with the VersaFine. I could have used the stamp positioner again for this if I'd wanted to, but I just lined it up straight and eyeballed it this time. That's why I have it lined up straight on my craft mat, and yeah, got it first try, so not bad for filming in the middle of the night. And then I had this old, I think this is called the Ticket Corner Punch from Stampin' Up. This is old, they don't carry it anymore, I've had it for years. You could use just a small circle punch to get the same look. And I just did that to kind of match it to the sentiment strip on the front. Things kind of even up, and then add the adhesive and put that in the inside of the card, and that's it. So there'll be links below to the supplies. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!